Good morning, Africa, and welcome to JASIRI, where we have bold and beautiful, as well as courageous conversations. I'm Tolulope Adeola Balogun.
My name is Omotunde Adeboale David. Today on the show, there is so much for you to listen to and keep the conversation going. Welcome.
I'm not going to be too hyper today because I didn't have enough sleep. But anyways, the ambassador for Gen Z, reporting for duty.
Guys, welcome to the show. My name is Katherine Obiang. Today there's going to be, as usual, lots of conversations, lots of perspectives to share. And of course, that's what makes JASIRI stand out and unique. Welcome.
All right, so you asked me a question right now. I'm blank. But what I can tell you is the lineup for today's show. We're looking at the rule of law and the fight against corruption. Of course, that comes about because of the Godwin Emefiele case. He being awarded a judgment against the federal government of Nigeria. And of course, a lot of controversy surrounding ministers and leadership of MDAs in President Tinubu's administration. So it's bringing a lot of heat, a lot of pressure on the administration. Then we're introducing a new segments, but we don't want to let the cat out of the bag because all I know is it's hot, it's tea, my goodness, and it's steaming. So whatever you do, you want to stick around to make sure that you are with us for that. Our new segment is coming up at the end of the day, and that's because we take feedback. Isn't that what we do?
Yes, of course. What's the point of what we're doing without feedback?
Yeah.
And of course, we need to have something like a chewing gum.
But then, I mean, regardless of the fact that we take feedback, be careful with your feedback because...
No, she wants to be trendy. See, I'm telling you, better and edu, and then the other things I saw on social media yesterday. No, you do not have a career as a comedian.
Yes.
Whoever is telling you that is lying. I have a career. Lolo,
we need that
Lolo,
yeah,
say that again.
Honestly.
What you said to me yesterday was so encouraging. I already have a brand name and things like that.
Wow,
I'm going to do a tour in December.
You know, we're talking. And then she said, Kat, that thing you just said, should I go on? Should I go on? Yesterday we were talking.
And it was funny, yeah?
And yes.
It was...
And she said, should I go? And I said, oh,
honestly,
no,
be with Gen Zs, you really have to listen to them because
you do.
They will push their agenda no matter
because if
what
you don't,
say.
you know, it affects our mental health.
Oh, God.
And that's like
don't go there. So, Gen Z and mental health, they're glued together.
Yes, I don't understand. Is that like an umbrella?
Because we have an awareness.
No, see, I agree that there's a consciousness that we probably didn't have when we were coming in. Is work, grind, and do.
Okay.
But I'm hearing mental health so much, I'm like, wait.
Yes, it's almost like an umbrella.
Where's the mental capacity before you're asking me about the mental health?
No, but would you rather have people who are not vocal or people who can just say as...
I would rather have people who have discernment. And I think some Gen Zs lack discernment in situations.
Okay,
as you can see, we have
go into the show.
Yes, as you can see, really, we do have a lot to unpack on you guys today, but it's fine. It'll unfold as things go on. Right now, as Tulu said, we're going to be taking a look at the rule of law, problems in governance, the fight against corruption, of course, with reference to the recent Emefiele story. And then, guess what? Later on in the show, oh my God.
I know this one.
We have a very interesting guest. She's going to be, that's a clinical transformational
There's one word. That's the one. That's the one I was waiting for you to land on.
Listen, we're going to be looking at the complexities in marriage vis-a-vis the Nigerian woman. You don't want to miss this. But we'll be right back.
Welcome back to JASIRI on News Central. Don't forget that you can also join the conversation. Our hashtag is JASIRI. Follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. We're also streaming live on YouTube as well, on many other platforms. So please follow us, share the conversation, and be part of all the conversations here on JASIRI. So last week, we know that, or rather earlier this week, Justice Olukayode Adeniyi of the Federal Capital Territory High Court in Abuja awarded the sum of 100 million naira against the federal government in favor of the former governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, for the violation of his personal liberty.
Now, you'd also recall that the ex-governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria was arrested on the 10th of June 2023, shortly after his suspension arraigned in court on the 25th of July as well. And he was now rearrested by the DSS on the court premises after being granted bail. He was released by the DSS on the 26th of October only to be picked up again by the EFCC until November 8. And I remember that period that one of the EFCC's defense was that they misunderstood the court order, and that, kind of stirred up some controversy. Now, the Tinubu administration and, in fact, past administrations in Nigeria have come under scrutiny for flouting the rule of law when it suits them and upholding it when it's in their favor. And it is with this background that we'll be discussing with our guest today, who is, of course, blessed among women, Liborous Oshoma, a legal practitioner and an expert on these matters. And it's not today, it's after. Liborous, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for joining us. Let's just go straight into this particular matter because what is the relationship really between the rule of law and, efforts to combat corruption in respect of the high-profile cases we have presently? I mean, the one between federal government and Emefiele, and of course, the former EFCC chair, that is Abdul Rashid Bawa. What's the relationship? What's the middle point?
But I must say, first and foremost, I don't believe in fight against corruption. It's a slogan that government used to just keep people in line to believe that government is doing something. It's like telling me, fight against Superman, fight against Batman. It's what people do is to ensure that you plug loopholes and put structures in place so that people do not corruptly enrich themselves. It is not this idea of fight against corruption. It's an aberration. It is, sloganeering. So it gives people the impression government is doing something. You wait for a man to steal. That's why I said it's like fight against Superman. Like I described it yesterday. Let's say there is a medication that once you take it, you become superhuman. You can fight. You can, uproot a house. You can even stop a plane. And then you keep it carelessly. You wait for that man to take that medication, and then you come with your ragtag army and say, I want to fight him.
You're not X-Men.
Yeah, that's what fight against corruption it's all about. And so that's why you find out that even the law, even the courts can't do anything. They are helpless. Even the agencies also seems helpless. And that's, in most cases, it happens in EFCC. It's a normal occurrence. They arrest you, and then they keep you.
Interrogate.
And after some time, you go to court to enforce your fundamental right.
Human rights.
The moment you are released on that ground, they file a charge and they arrest you again right in court premises. And they file a charge and say, oh, you see, we have not charged you before. Since the court said you can enforce your rights, now there's a charge. You're arrested again, and then they warehouse, and then we say, oh yes, the man is in court. The windmill of justice grinds slowly but surely. But we forget, justice delayed is justice denied. So that's why you don't wait for people to corruptly enrich themselves before you begin to fight them. You plug loopholes and ensure that there are systems in place to deter people from having to corruptly enrich themselves. So this Emefiele's case is the beginning of the end. Now, because of the way and manner the agencies handled the matter, definitely, we say in law, we all know this, ubi jus ibi remedium. Where there is a right, there's a remedy. The man is presumed innocent until proven guilty. Even if you catch him red-handed, the onus is on you to prove that the man did all of this beyond reasonable doubt. Any doubt in the mind of the court will be resolved in his favor. And so, in doing that, there are parameters that you must follow. So the moment you breach those parameters, he's entitled to a remedy. And that's why the man is saying, I was in court, I was granted bail, I was rearrested. So should I just, go like that without remedy? My rights have been violated, I've not been proven guilty yet. It's still a matter, you're still investigating. You really don't even know what you're investigating. So in other crime, what they do, the moment you are arrested, investigation had been concluded and you are charged the very next day. But here, we arrest first, and then we now begin to investigate.
Yeah.
Just
And the law says you can't hold beyond a certain
Amount of days.
days.
Of time.
And once you're holding beyond that time, you go to court, you ask for an order, and the court says, okay, hold between this time and this time. It is not ad infinitum. Yet, you still go back again and say, please, we have not concluded. And by that time, all of the documents and evidence you need would have been destroyed. And that's why, quickly, if you permit me, you hear this case of humanitarian disaster ministry. You suspend the minister and then you leave the civil servants
I didn't hear that.
that perpetrated. These are the people that move the money. Like Fashola once said, I do not sign checks.
Yeah.
But he gives instruction to people. And those people are the ones that will carry out all of those. So, but the people are there. They'll be the one that will destroy all the evidence. At the end of the day, become very difficult for you to ground conviction. And then we say,
evidence.
yes. And so we say, we're fighting corruption.
Liborous, let me quickly. There's something you said that was very interesting, that stood out. When you said people are held untenably and for an indefinite length of time. It takes me back to Nnamdi Kanu and the Islamic movement leader Zakzaki.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that human rights issues were raised. You understand? And I'm saying that where is the government's stance in all of this? Are they, as in, what are the grounds that the government would hold them for this long? You understand? Or are they flouting court orders to do this? Or is it that they're just behaving as they deem fit or as they see fit, because it's within their purview to do so?
So what usually happens is we abuse the law. We are very good at abusing the law.
Wait, who is
All
the
of
we?
Exactly.
Yeah.
All of us,
leaders
all of
and
us,
citizens.
both
The
are
country.
leaders and the followers. And that's why when these things happen, there's never a unanimous voice condemning it. Would seems, even including lawyers, very senior one, are divided. Oh, the court has power to do that. So there are no oppressors in Nigeria. What we just hate is the fact that we are not the ones oppressing. So the moment you are the one oppressing, you like that fact that
You're in
yes, it's
control.
very good. You sing the praises, and until the shoe, gets to the other foot. So that's why, in the case of El Zakzaki, Nnamdi Kanu, what they usually do, they have multiple charges. They have multiple charges. So they grant you bail on this one.
And
as you are leaving, you are arrested
that
again, they
one.
bring the other one. And it is an abuse of court processes. But because also you have leaders who do not comply with the rule of law. They just mouth the rule of law, just like fight against corruption. The former President Buhari once said, they asked him, a court has granted bail to Sambo Dasuki, and he said, you want me to release, it's now about him. You want me to release somebody who stole money that led to the death of so many people. You are not the court.
Yes. And then
You are not the investigating officers. They are a distinct arm of government. Allow them to do their work. And then, rather than, excuse me, rather than condemn that act, we started debating it. Some lawyers said, yes, the president has the power to say what he said, because all of these actions, it is the courts that's our problem. Why would they even grant bail to such a man that stole money that led to, we should go the way of China, we should do this.
But there are conditions in the law.
The laws, until if you want to go in that route, you must amend your rules.
Exactly.
So this is a point I want to follow up on, because I also think that we hear a lot about national security. Let's go back to the Emefiele situation.
Yeah.
There was the issue of economic sabotage on a national level.
Yeah.
Nnamdi Kanu too, we heard about
Yes.
national security. El Zakzaki, we heard about national security. I'll take you back to 2011 in the United States. It was after the Twin Towers bombings that the U.S. started the Patriot Act. And the Patriot Act actually gave the U.S. government so much power to hold people indefinitely without access to lawyers or even family. And a lot of people said that in looking at that, for many people, was the beginning of seeing democracy sort of lose when it came to the human rights situation. Does government ever have a basis that maybe the courts are not privy to national security information that would make these individuals, if released based on human rights, a danger to the public, or possibly instigators or not financiers, but instigators and people likely to be involved in situations that put national security at risk? Is national security, does it ever outweigh human rights?
National security is not nebulous. National security is also defined and subsumed under the rule of law. So it is determined and defined by the rule of law. So it is not dictated by the whims and caprices of one man. When the law spells out national security, and if there is a conflict with that law and the ground norm, it is left for the court to interpret that your national security, the conditions spelled out in those documents are conflicting with the fundamental right of these persons. And that is why at the end of the day, everything still boils down to the court. That's why we say in law, the law is what the court says it is. No matter how finely crafted those laws are, it is the interpretation that the court gives to it that the law becomes. So if you say, like Buhari said, national security, supersedes the law.
Individual rights,
the individual right. No, it is the court that will say when it is matters of national security, like the Supreme Court said in the case of Asari Dokubo, that individual rights can be suspended, but it is still the court that can suspend those individual rights and not the dictate of the president. So the moment the court says these issues cannot fall within the purview of a national security, and so to that extent, I grant this man bail in so and so terms, that is the position of the law. I mean, so it is not now left for a president to say, I sit on appeal over the judgment of that court because it's a matter of national security. Because it is not you that will determine national security, but place material fact before the court to determine whether this issue, this threat, is actually a national security, national threat that will guarantee, keeping this person behind bars ad infinitum.
All right, Liborous, this clearly is a challenge. I mean, because you have mentioned that sometimes, like you said, there's literally conflict almost all the time where someone says, you mean you expect me to release this person despite what the person has done? There's that challenge. There's also the challenge of this bottleneck bureaucratic process. So let's even say someone is held, without cause or without evidence or whatnot, and then the court says, release this person. It still takes a lot of time before you hear that the person has finally been released. So isn't there a way that the Constitution can enforce these things? If the court says this, then it shouldn't take more than this amount of time for that thing to take effect.
No. There are procedures. If the court doesn't just say, go home and see no more. When you are granted bail, there are conditions attached to that bail, which the court also had to verify to ensure that those terms and conditions are met. Like in Emefiele's case, you are granted bail in 300 million and you don't have a surety. Not that you deposit 300 million, but somebody who is capable, because in the event that you jump bail, somebody must forfeit that money to the government. And so you don't have somebody who is ready to put a bond down to say, I have 300 million. And it is no longer the court's fault. And there are sometimes courts bail are granted and you look for a surety. You go back to court and say, please, vary these terms. Yes. Because these terms are too strenuous for me to meet. So you please kindly vary them. And the court weighs the offense that you allegedly committed and then they bail and says, look, we either vary or we can't vary. But unfortunately, what happens here is the fact that, like I said, what you have are superhumans and not super institutions. So some of these humans, in most cases, will find a way of interfering with the legal processes, and then the law becomes helpless because the court also, it's not a police that will enforce.
I need to hold your thoughts on that, because when you say some people, these times that we're in, one of the things we need to really consider are the gatekeepers. I mean, the media. It's very important, because now it has become like what happens in the court just gets thrown into the court of public opinion on social media. So how are we able to sift through the noise, because it's becoming more difficult. It's as if trials are held on social media and judgments are given right there, and you're wondering, where are the intellectual? Where is the court?
No, there
What
are
is
two
our
courts.
say?
There are two courts.
Are we failing? Is the media failing?
Is the media failing?
In this regard?
No. There are two courts. The court of public opinion and the court of law. And that's why now you find, because the media is not failing, that's why most people would rather take their matter to the court of public opinion than the court of law. Because in the court of law, the windmill of justice grinds slowly and there are procedures. But in the court of public opinion, you'll find out that the government and the people concerned listens more quickly. And that's why I take your mind back to this issue of the Ministry of Poverty Induction and Humanitarian Disaster.
Laborious. Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation. For the record.
That's for you, but for Nigerians, there's a Ministry for Poverty Induction and Humanitarian Disaster.
Sad.
And so you find out that it is the cry in the media, the cry on social media that made the government, otherwise, typical, you will hear we're doing something, we're investigating. But now, despite the step taken, people are still saying, no, the evil servants, sorry, I always say, the tongue reside in a wet place though. The civil servants are there. They authorize this transfer. They also need to be suspended. The other minister, should be investigated and all of those things. So, but what just happened is that the media space now is broadened. It is no longer just the conventional media. Anybody with a phone now is a journalist.
Yes.
And so, and that's why even on TV, conventional TV, you have what is trending on social media. You also have citizens reporters.
Yeah.
But the key point is verification. And then in the court also, when these matters get to court, the danger in all of this is that you find out that illiteracy, because the society has also settled for less, illiteracy is so rife that some people, what in law we say you formulate the issues for determination. So they formulate the issues for determination devoid of legal processes in their mind. And they now expect the court to deal with those issues the way they would deal with it, without considering the fact that the law has procedures and processes that must be followed. And so the moment those issues are not dealt with the way they expect, there's public outcry. Oh, the law is biased, the law is this, the law is that. And I take your mind to the presidential election petition. In the court of public opinion, the questions that Peter Obi and co were asking was, we won the election. But in the court of law, the issues they raised was cancel the election, not that we won. So it takes the discerning now to understand that, look, this is what these people are asking for. And so those of you that are saying he won the election, the man is not saying he won. He's saying cancel. There are qualifications that the candidate that was declared winner did not meet. So cancel the process and let us redo it. So there became a conflict. And the noise in the media social media became too loud for even those that understand the process to explain to people. So these are some of the challenges, and maybe with time people will begin to understand, and then there'll be a convergence, where people will understand that, yes, we need to separate the wheat from the chaff. But until then, we just Trojan on and find a way to strike a balance.
Wow.
Right.
All right, Liborous, thank you so much for joining us. Guys, with Liborous, it's a discussion that continues. I mean, all of us, I can speak for the ladies, we have tons of questions because Liborous is that kind of resource that you don't want to let go.
Keeps on giving.
Yeah, there's questions. I'm struggling with Marcelicus, but, we have to go on a short break. And believe me, when they say, when in doubt, speak to a therapist, this is true. At least, I promise you. We'll be back and you'll know more about it when we return. This is JASIRI.
Welcome back to JASIRI. And if you're just joining us, you're watching the relaunched and revamped JASIRI right here on News Central. Your law can change overnight, trust me. And our next story actually features the now famous, Deborah Olaki, popularly known as Mommy Z. She's a housewife, and she shared a tweet on X about how she wakes up at 4:50 a.m. every day to make lunch for her husband after she found out that he shared lunch with a colleague. I know, honestly, that our Gen Z body is itching to take on this particular topic. Anyway, Mommy Z has gathered a lot of fans over the internet, and as I'm speaking right now, she has over 5 million in cash from well-meaning Nigerians and even corporate brands. As you can imagine, there's been a lot of mixed reactions about this story, and there's a huge divide, I can tell you, that is between feminists and traditionalists. And this brings to bear a deeper conversation about marriage and the Nigerian woman.
All right, so joining us this morning on JASIRI is...
Sorry.
That story.
So joining us this morning is Family Life. It's on JASIRI, it's Family Life. Why am I laughing? Guys, stop.
We haven't even started.
It's the way.
Okay.
Lolo, no, I understand. Lolo has things to say on this, but you know, seriously,
Act
joining
mature.
us this
Behave
morning.
mature.
Yes, joining us this morning on JASIRI is Family Life and clinical transformational therapist and founder of Owning My Greatness Consulting, Adeola Kingsley James.
Adeola, welcome.
See how beautiful she is?
It's the smile in the hair.
I'm laughing at this story.
You're laughing at this. Okay, it's not just us.
Thank you for having me here.
All right, so my first question to you is, are you a feminist or a traditionalist?
So I'm going to ask you, I know you're the interviewer, but I'm going to ask you this question.
We started.
Who is a feminist and who is a traditionalist?
That's for you.
Because you're the one who asked the question. We're waiting.
Who is a feminist and who is a
I mean, at least in your own opinion.
Yeah, in my opinion, a traditionalist is someone who's grown up with tenets and values passed on, you know, from parents to you, from your generation to you. Like, okay, I know that, okay, in my family, this is how I was raised. I must always cater to my family first. I must always be the last person to eat, for example. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That's a traditionalist for me. Now, a feminist, in my opinion, is a woman who decides that, listen, I have the choice to do things the way I want to do things. And I want to do things in my manner as well, at my time, at my pace. So that's what I think in a nutshell.
So I'm both.
Is that possible?
I would say, you know, I'm very careful about terminologies. And that's why I keep asking, when you say feminist or when you say traditionalist, who is who, right? I have some traditions that I've picked up from my family, and every human being actually does. That's the truth. There's nobody that
willingly or unwillingly.
Yes, whether you like it or not, all of us here, we're sum total of our nature and nurture. Yeah. So you think you are a Lolo, but you are the person they say Lolo is. Right? And so if you've grown up with parents or a mother, for example, who believes that I'm meant to dote on my husband and do everything for him because maybe she saw her mother do that, you most likely will do that. Now, you could wake up one morning and say, you know what, all that nonsense that my mother took, I'm not taking it anymore. I ain't gonna make nothing for nobody. You can decide that I'm changing my identity. I'm not taking that. And I think that's where maybe somewhat this feminist movement started from, because we saw some of the things that our mothers went through. And we're like, I'm not taking this thing anymore. We saw how, you know, they lost themselves for their families. Because you said something very key. A traditionalist to you is somebody who eats last, right? That is trauma to start with. Why would you eat last? Why would you choose yourself last? And most women do that. If you put children, husband, put it in the form of priority, you're always, why? Exactly. You've got to be first. I mean, you put all of that. Exactly. So now, why would I eat last? Why do I want, you know, they say, oh, he who is last is less best, or what's that thing?
It's laughter, actually.
Why?
So
why can't you eat when other people are eating?
Yeah, so
or
I
eat
think
first?
I think that looking at Momizi's story, right, the fact that she wakes up at 4:30 or 4:50 is not the exact problem. I know I ain't waking up at 4:30 to cook for nobody's son. But the thing is, I think that the problem that women have, or some people have, is the expectation that the society has, or the notion that the society has passed on. If I'm waking up at 4:30 to cook for my husband, it should be because I love him, and that's a nature for me, or it's a culture that I have taken from, okay, my mom used to do it, and I like it, and I want to do it. I shouldn't be doing it because I'm scared that somebody is bringing 2 spoons. Because the truth is, at the end of the day, if I start cooking for him, we just tell the woman, keep your spoon and bring in food for us. So what's the deal? Yeah.
Wow.
So you know that story is funny, and you can also tell definitely that it's coming from her insecurities, right?
Exactly.
But then is it
her insecurities or the insecurities that society has placed on her?
Well, whether society has put it on her or it's now in her.
She has collected it.
Yes, it's in her.
Because it was about the fact that her husband ate
outside.
That means my husband should stop me from going to work. Because they feed me every day in the office.
Oh, you have a work husband?
Yes, and it's a man that feeds me. Most times when he's buying food for himself, he buys food for me. So that means I should be stopped from going to the office.
Exactly.
That's what. But to be honest, right? I mean, everybody has come from some form of traumatic experience. Now, I'm sure if I speak to the lady, I'll find out a little bit more information that is out there, right? And I'm also very, very careful of jumping on trends like this because you don't know the full story. Yeah. So she's put something out there. A lot of women wake up at 4 a.m. to look after their children and get them ready for school and cook and all of that. If that rocks your boat, please, do you. But what I would then say is, I won't then sit down and say, I have to wake up at 4:30 to cook for my husband. If I don't want to, it doesn't make you a bad wife. That's the way I would look at it.
But the society would never take it, because this that has happened has somehow shifted the mentality of a lot of people. Because now people are willfully endorsing her and gifting her stuff because they think she fits the ideal of a good wife. Well, and that is placing pressure on other people.
Because you wanted to place pressure on you.
So before you further respond, because I've looked at a lot of the sides of this conversation, and you asked Katherine earlier, what's the definition of a feminist and a traditionalist? Yeah. And I think also we hear a lot about bitter feminists in the Nigerian space, but people need to realize how violent feminist movements have actually been in history in fighting for women's equality in society. And a lot of the things that we're doing, or people are doing as feminism in Nigeria, has not reached the level of violence, even currently. Yeah. In South Korea right now, women are absolutely shunning men. Because South Korea wants women to have more kids, but you are making it expensive, and they're not able to pursue their career. So they're saying, you know what? We don't want men anymore. Yeah. There are situations where in the times when women were fighting for about women's rights, it was a feminist movement, because the women said, we're making the money, you're taxing us, and we're getting nothing from it. That's just a very brief idea, but go and research it. But that's basically, so you have people who, don't really understand what the feminist movement is about. And then you have people who say, feminists make it about food. But we also have women who are getting beaten because they don't give their husbands food. They're not serving the food at the time it's supposed to be served, or the men think it's supposed to, for even refusing their husband's sex. So when we say it's just about food is also an important part of the conversation about women's rights and equality. So as Lola was asking you, where does it all mix? Where does it all meet? When we all say, no, women don't want to be like their mothers anymore, but a lot of young men want to still have and replicate the lives their fathers had.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately so. And I think that's one of the things that scare me around all these women conferences. So we're doing so many things to increase the capacity of women, education. But who's doing it for the men?
Please repeat that question again. No. I asked this question on social media myself.
Who's doing it for women are still going to come and marry these men that nobody has touched. So we're going to have more of these problems actually. Yes. Our problems just started. That's the truth, and we must get ready for it, because you have now more men who want to sit down and be taken care of. They don't want to work because the woman has come out to say, I'm going to be this. So Are we flipped it on its head? Unfortunately, so you have more masculine women now.
Yes.
More masculine. Any woman that you see that is an absolute hustler, and it's the masculine spirit in the woman. Now, the natural state of a woman, and there's no woman I've asked, and I'll ask all of you, if you had to choose between a soft life and a strong life,
no more.
my sisters, which one
It's
will you choose? We should also be careful of what we're asking for, right? We're asking, we want to be independent, we want to be but at the bottom line of it, do we really want it?
So is there a way to separate? Because we have to agree that on a societal level, we need to push women to be able to do more, career-wise, education-wise. On a family level, that can be different because what works for one marriage or works for one couple doesn't always work for the other couple. So is there a need to separate sort of how the push is being done based on what is good for the entire society versus what works behind closed doors?
You know, I think everybody just needs to sit down and ask themselves what works for me.
Okay, if
that's what I would say, honestly, because even in as a career, some people want to stay at home. Some women want to be housewives. What about those women? That is a full-time career in its own. Well, sitting down at home and looking after children.
Know that society and the men would not let, and by not let, I'm not saying they would enforce it, but when the society is saying as a sit-at-home mom, you have nothing to offer, and then the man is asking, what do you bring to the table? I hate that question, by the way.
How about sit-at-home husbands?
You see, just like what Adeola first said, are we saying that we have flipped the script? Because if we say in Africa, that there's something, a phenomenon called sit-at-home husbands. It's something that African men totally do not understand.
They don't understand it.
And they will see it as like we're emancipating and we're emasculating them. So where do we find this balance for the modern day woman?
That's the question.
Because if they're rewarding our dear mommy Z for waking up at 4:30 to feed her husband, which should be something she does as nurture
because
for
marriage
her home.
is sacrifice.
That's what she does.
Not many women, or especially the Gen Zs. I'm not sure it's even some of our kind.
Please, I'm 20.
Okay.
20 years old.
If you say
I told
as
you.
long as you sleep well at night, telling
I
yourself
sleep well
you're
at
20, then I'm okay. It's the Gen Zs, I think, to a large extent, that they're like, microwave, that's what we want. Okay?
Freezer, yes,
Which is also okay. There's some things that work here. There's some things that work here. And I think what the challenge is, rather than sitting down and looking for the things that worked for maybe our parents, and the things that are working for us and the things that are working for them, and coming together to creating something new. It's like when I talk about the Bible, this Bible was written 5,000 years ago, or 2,000 years ago, or 3,000. How can we be using the same thing that was written 2,000 years ago today? There was no internet 2,000 years ago. So it's the same thing with this whole movement. There was a time when it was all about the men. Now it's all about the women. Yeah. It's going to go at some point maybe back to all about the men. Why can't we all sit down in one place and say, really, who do we want to be?
And what families
and what
do we want
what will work for us today, rather than going back to the past and bothering ourselves.
Adeola, guys, Adeola Kingsley James, family life and rapid transformational therapist. Thank you so much.
But wait, we haven't told them the other part.
What?
There's a challenge on the table.
Okay.
And if you want to know what that challenge is, you need to be on our social media platforms at News Central TV, because Adeola is also a hypnotherapist.
Yes.
So one of us might be going under, what would you call, under what?
Hypnosis.
It's definitely not going to be
under
me.
hypnosis.
It will not be me.
At News Central TV is the place to be, and you'll find out after the show if we are up to the task.
Yeah, but not next. It's hot topics. Hey, now this is
It's burning her.
This is red hot chili pepper kind of thing.
Oh my God.
So,
Okay.
But I'm telling you that Adeola will come back.
We'll be back as well. Let's go for this break.
Hey, welcome back.
Is this left out?
No, it's because she's being caught red-handed. She's being caught red-handed.
It's always the laughter.
Okay, let me help her out. All right, let's go. Before we wrap things up on JASIRI today, we're introducing our Hot Topics segment.
Yes.
There we go. So ladies, drum roll. Okay, so if you're on Nigerian social media, there's no way you would have missed what is one of the biggest trending stories right now. And that's because, what's her nickname? She has Clinic of Africa. Anyway, she's like the biggest female Nigerian musician, one of the biggest African female musicians, and that is none other than Tiwa Savage. Yesterday, news came out that she has filed a petition against her fellow music star and we assume friend David O for threats of assault and grievous bodily harm after hostile messages were exchanged between David O, Tiwa, and her management. Is stew, is pepper, is jollof rice, is tea.
When they say no grief for anybody,
no grief for anybody.
This is the poster for no grief for anybody. And one would have thought, what would cause this? So David O and Tiwa seem to be close. I said seem.
I think it's about Sophia.
Okay, so let me give you a quick background. Yes. So the first inkling something was wrong, today's Wednesday, was on Monday when Tiwa's ex-husband T-Bills started this rant on social media. I was like, I was sending people,
I was wondering why T-Bills was so vocal.
So this is the thing, right? Tiwa had posted
a picture with her and Sophia.
And then she supported. So I think at that point was when Davido allegedly started, through his manager now, started saying things to Tiwa that, you know, she's not been loyal to him and things like that. And I really do love the support. I mean, the baby daddy came out and said, don't say that thing to...
This is one place you don't want to go.
Let's not talk T-Bills because I don't want to say.
Also, their children are really good friends, and that is Sophia Mamadou, who has a daughter for David O, and David O's and Tiwa Savage's son with T-Bills. So they're really close friends. We've seen their videos, we've seen them grow up over the years together.
But this thing about my enemy should be your enemy.
It's almost like a divorce. Your friends have to choose a side.
Choose sides.
I wouldn't lie. It's a big deal, right? It's easy to. I mean, the way this one is panning out is a little bit too serious. Yeah. But to be honest, friendship is a big deal. I remember the whole, I'm not trying to take it back, but you know, the whole bow hair, Hilda and this other lady, you know, she stole my best friend, and people were like, why are you so petty? It's a big deal to a lot of people, right? Well, if you're my friend, you're my friend. Some people will say my friend's enemy is my enemy. I have friends who do not talk to someone who offended me. It's been 5 years now. I'm the one begging, please forgive the person. So it's a big deal to a lot of people.
So I can understand it being a big deal, but when threats are involved, threats of assault,
so that's exactly why I'm saying that this is a big deal.
Do you now want to go gangster? Do you want to go street on this person? Why? Because she's friends with your ex. It doesn't have anything. Let's separate. It's like eating with cutlery. When you're picking your piece of chicken and you're cutting it and you're using the fork to hold it, you're separating. It's like performing a surgery.
So
one has nothing to do with the other.
Let me ask this question, because I've seen it on social media. Yes. Are we seeing a side of Davido that we didn't see before? Because some people are now saying that all the giveaways, all the good things, that obviously there's a side of Davido that other people know that
I haven't seen anything. To be honest, I've not seen anything that he said, right? We still don't know the backstory.
Yes, there's some leaked messages, but we haven't been able to verify.
Probably he was pissed. I don't think that he will get angry that she posted it. Maybe something else is happening that we don't know.
No, I know that. On the surface of this fight, we didn't really see them talking about the child. No, we talked about the child. It was T-Bills that made that.
So it should be angry with anybody. It should be T-Bills.
Or Tiwa Savage did not say anything about the child.
No, but
T-Bills was the one.
You know, listen, you've not seen your child until
exactly. So that means there's a backstory.
So really,
there's some kind of backstory.
But what do you guys think about T-Bills supporting
please don't let me
let's hear it.
We often see couples that have broken up who remain enemies. And remember, I think it was a few weeks ago that he did this post to her, really thanking her for how she has stood by.
But if you are a woman that takes responsibility,
no, hold on.
There is no way your ex is not going to come out straight.
No, don't say that. No, don't say that. There are people. No, don't say that. There are people who take responsibility.
Tiwa Savage is 100% mommy. She's taking all the big
Omotunde.
Hey, Omotunde.
Let's wrap up.
Finish the statement.
Let's not go there. Because in as much as at a point it appeared like T-Bills was being too cheesy. Tiwa is not the only one who's taking care of bills, hey? If Tunji T-Bills, whatever his name is, you understand? If he's the one coming to sing her praises, guys, look beyond the surface.
That's what I'm saying.
So are you guys saying that it's wrong to support her?
It is good to support.
What Katherine is saying
is the support.
I'm done.
No, regardless of the support, I would still say it's because Tiwa is doing all the heavy lifting.
But I mean,
why would you celebrate her? Please,
So
shout, fight.
But you know that
he might as well be a house husband.
I didn't say.
No, I mean,
I didn't say.
I'm going to bring a gavel onto this show next time. All right, time out. All right, so we just barely got into this, but what you need to know is that Hot Topics is going to be a main part of the show, and trust us, we're going to go there. And there, with this story, it's probably going to come up again because it's a developing story. We haven't heard officially from Tiwa Savage's camp or Davido's camp, but you see, we're passionate. We have something to say about it. And this is how we wrap up JASIRI for today. We want to say a very big thank you to our guests, Liborous, Oshoma, and Adeola Kingsley Jane for joining us as well on the show. I want us to get a big wide shot so we're able to go out together in fanfare. Don't forget, hashtag JASIRI at News Central TV. We stream live on YouTube. We're on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274. Everything I said.
Everything you said.
We'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye.